Welcome to the Kirkpatrick podcast, bridging traditions and trends in learning and performance evaluation. Whether you're a seasoned learning professional or just starting out, join us as we dive into the Kirkpatrick model like never before. Through stories and insights, we are fusing time-honored methods with cutting-edge innovations to help you navigate the ever-evolving world of learning and performance evaluation. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Kirkpatrick podcast. I am here with my bestie in Georgia, Jim Kirkpatrick. How are you, Jim?
I'm dandy. I'm good today, as usual.
Nice. Is it cold where you are? Have you guys gotten to the cold weather yet?
It's 67 degrees. I don't think I'd call that cold, so we're good.
No, I'd call that pretty warm right now. It is in the 40s in New Jersey. And I'm certainly feeling it. And so while it may be cold outside, we don't want a cold reception from our senior leaders. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. You see what I did there?
Good transition. Beautiful.
Thank you. Some may call me a professional. I just play one on TV. So for me, I have to say, I'm really excited to talk to you about this in particular. One of the things that I admire so much from so many of our conversations is your ability to really give people the real deal, the real talk, right? And that is in order to really gain the buy-in and to create the change and showcase your value, you have to figure out a way to have those conversations with your senior leaders. And you have to find a way in order to understand what it is that they're looking for and show them your value. And it's something that so aligns with me and my team and what we've been talking about for so long. So it's really great to be able to hear that from your perspective. So I'd love to talk to you more about that today. Does that sound good?
That sounds good.
So, Jim, we talk a lot about buy-in when it comes to senior leaders and management and buy-in from stakeholders. Can you talk more about what that means to you and how we could possibly get that?
I would love to, because that is the most common question that we get. How do we get buy-in? And it's always buy-in. I don't care what country it is. I don't care what level it is. It's always, how do we get buy-in from the senior leaders? And also, to a lesser degree, how do we get buy-in from line managers? And I want to first be very clear about the Kirkpatrick definition of buy-in. What it is not is a senior leader saying, good idea, carry on and let me know how it goes, or great, I'll be behind you with all this. Buy-in means they are actively going to be participating in the initiative, not in the training and not in the learning, but in supporting the performance, in championing those who are doing well and challenging those who aren't, removing barriers. They have to be a vital part of the execution of the performance and the results, or honestly, there really isn't going to be that much impact. And that's what I always tell them. If they say, well, we just want to buy in, we'll just give you the funding. I'll say, fine, we'll get it done, but there won't be much in the way of results. But if you are actively involved, it will multiply the efforts and multiply the results. So buy-in means action.
Oh, I love that. That's such a different take of buy-in. I think often we can think about it, the former, how you kind of talked about it, like,
Yes.
Go forth and conquer. Let me know how it goes. But it's so true. It's not that's like the surface level version of buy-in. But are you really actually even gaining that traction and gaining the results that you need? And if they don't really believe it, and they don't believe in what it is that you're doing, are you ever going to see results?
Nothing significant. And we got to quit kidding ourselves into thinking that we are, and turn our attention to recruiting these people. You mentioned line managers and supervisors. We want to recruit them to be part of the post-training support accountability package. And the senior leaders, we want to recruit them, not just to get information from them about what's important to you and what keeps you up at night, those kind of things, but recruit them to be part of the action, challenging, confronting, encouraging, all those kind of things.
I'm so glad that you made that distinction, Jim, because we definitely can talk a lot about senior management and those at the C-suite and gaining their buy-in and getting them to be part of what it is that we're doing.
Yep.
But you're right, it also involves line managers and those intermediary managers, because they also have a very important part. And sometimes we think to level 3, it's really them that are performing the tasks, those observations at level 3. So while yes, you need the buy-in of senior leaders, it's that middle management range that really you have to kind of rally the troops, if you will.
And I can tell you that I've got 3 phrases that I'm going to go through in a minute, but I can tell you what are the antithesis of that. And that is, if we're expecting to hear from, even line managers and especially senior leaders, wow, that was a great training that you delivered. Forget it. They're not going to say it. Or, wow, you just upskilled a bunch of people. We're really, really happy about that. Or what a new competency model. We're thrilled about that. We got to quit kidding ourselves. We encourage each other and congratulate each other for those things, but they don't. They're saying, what does that have to do with the business? What does that have to do with the mission? And to some degree, they're right. Those things are necessary, but insufficient to bring about real change and real results.
Oh, thank you so much. So can you share what the 3 responses are?
I would be glad to. The first one, I think of Stephen Covey and one of his 7 habits that said, you need to seek to understand before you seek to be understood. And the first thing you need to hear from them, are you ready for the quote? What can I do to help? And what you do is you don't just ask them, we need you to help. What you do is you listen to them, you talk to them, you find out what are their challenges, what are opportunities they see, what are their dreams. And if you listen hard enough and show them that you care, they will trust you. And then the words will come out, what can I do to help? And then the answer, of course, is plenty. Let's talk about it. But those are the first words that at least say that they have bought in initially into what it is that you're going to be presenting to them.
We just want to touch on that really quickly, because as you're talking about that specific response, what can I do to help? I think what's so interesting, and we may not be prepared for that response. I think we're often very used to not getting that help, or not knowing that they need to help us, right? And that we need their support and buy-in. But sometimes I don't know if we really think about, well, what does that look like? How would I need them to support us? And being able to answer that question so you're not caught off guard when they ask that.
Oh, that's brilliant, Vanessa. Because if they say, what can I do to help? And we go, let me get back to you on that. It's going to drop like a rock. We have to have things ready to say. First of all, I'm glad you asked that. This is going to make all the difference. One thing you can do is you can talk to your people that are going to be taking the training, that are going to be supervising it, and encourage them to be as involved as they can. Another thing is you can be ready to help when we need you, to champion those people who are doing well, and those who are struggling, help remove barriers. And also, we'll even make it easy for you by helping to script some things and give you some ideas, rather than you have to kind of think it up out of the blue, because we know you've got other things that you're interested in as well.
Oh, I love that. And I think that there may or may not be some things available from the Kirkpatricks that could help with scripting and having some of the ideas. So
You're
just
killing me, Vanessa.
little plug here and there, and there.
You're saying you think there might be. Yeah, well, I think you know more than you're saying.
So tell me, all right, so they ask you, what could they do to help? You provide them that support that you need. What's the next response that you're looking for?
Well, that's once the things start getting churning and the training has happened and the learning has occurred. And now it is time for the real deal, which is performance time. And what you have are what we call required drivers, that are the accountability, the support that the line managers and sometimes the high level people are involved with, encouraging, reinforcing, challenging, monitoring, all those things. And when that's happening and that whole process is spinning, we start to see results, not flag at the top of the mountain or mission accomplished, but we start to see traction and progress. And as you continue to meet with the senior leaders, this is not just in the beginning and say, here's a script, please do it when you get a chance. We're going to be meeting with them occasionally to talk about what's working and what isn't, getting their ideas, apprising them, sharing dashboards. And when things really start to show value, those are the words you want to hear is, you're not who I thought you were. And the rest of that is usually, I thought you delivered training. I thought that you were a cost center. I thought that you were something necessary, but not really related to the business. They'll look you in the eye and say, you know what, Jim or Vanessa, you're not who I thought you were. You are doing way more for the business than I thought would ever happen.
Oh, that's awesome. I think that's that could be probably one of the best compliments that you could get. It sounds maybe it's that, if you first heard it, you may not think of it as a compliment. But realistically, that's really what you're looking for, right? Is to show that learning and training and your department is more than just that. It's more than just providing content. It's more than just providing a cost, right? It is really about helping to influence behavior change or influence decisions that are being made day to day in order to help influence the strategic results.
You use that word beautifully. I heard you use it several times, influencing. Kirkpatrick evaluation is not just checking with a survey or a test to see how things are going. It is about influencing, particularly at level 3. And you may know that I was working with a Navy group this morning out of Norfolk, Virginia. Yeah. And one guy was sharing about how he crossed over to the other side, the bridges that he had built, and he was observing actual performance. And he kept talking, and I say, "Oh, wait a minute, Andre." It was his name. I said, "I'm reading the roster here, and it says that you are a training provider. You're going way, way above and beyond training providing." He said, "Well, I guess I've kind of gone outside of my job description." And I said, "That's exactly what we want you to do, is do it respectfully, sometimes get permission, but go beyond being an instructional designer or a trainer and spend time on the other side of the bridge, adding value." And you will hear those words, "Andre, you're not who we thought you were."
Oh, I love that. I can't wait to hear more about how he does in the rest of his program and how he does after he finishes up the certification program. So we'll have to stay tuned to see how Andre does.
Right.
What's the third response that we're looking for?
Well, a lot of organizations use abbreviations and acronyms and stuff. And the third one is JWD. You are never done until you hear JWD. Oh, I guess I should say what that means. That is job well done.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what you hear. Now, that's what you need to hear. That's when you know that you have made a difference. And they say job well done means you have contributed to the division goals, department goals, the corporate goals, mission. And until you hear that, you're really not sure. But I'll tell you, that is the ultimate. Now, a lot of people that we work with freak out when we talk about level 4 and senior leaders, and we've got to hear you've contributed to the mission, because that's a tough one to do, is climb all the way to being able to demonstrate you've completed or contributed to the mission. But what you need to hear, and Vanessa, you talked about this earlier, our line managers, supervisors saying, you have helped my people do their job better. So that's level 3 stuff. And from that, of course, they can look at some outcomes from that. But JWD is either senior leaders saying job well done, mission accomplished as far as this initiative, or line managers saying you really help my people do their job better. And when you hear that, that is your ultimate success and contribution.
Oh, I love that. I was sitting here trying to think of JWD, and I was like, Jim, Wendy, Donald, is that where we're going? But now I see we're going. Yeah, I know. How fun is that? That'll be our acronym, but also JWD, job well done. That You heard that one here first, folks.
Oh, I got to
So
tell you, Vanessa,
yes.
just a story comes to my mind. From
Mhm.
1997 to 2005, I was a training director for a bank in Indianapolis, Indiana. And the CEO was my boss. His name was Bud Melton. And he was 6'8". He was the intimidator. He was rock solid and rock hard. And I think few people ever saw him smile because he was a tough guy, but he got things
Mhm.
done. And I remember we worked on an initiative together, which is where I first came up with these 3 ideas. When I talked to him about it, he wanted to transform the bank into trusted advisor kind of
Mhm.
community. And finally, I talked enough about it. He said, "What can I do to help?" The magic words. And then as we went along, he said, "I didn't know who you were before. I thought you're just a training director." And then, Vanessa, true story, I had left the bank and he had
Mhm.
retired. And it was about 5 years later, I bumped into him in a grocery store in
Of all
Indianapolis,
places.
Indiana. And he was gray by that time, and I suppose I was too. And he said, "Kirkpatrick." In 8 years, he never knew my first name. It was always Kirkpatrick. He said, "Kirkpatrick, I want to talk to you." And of course, he's still intimidated. I said, "Yes, Mr. Melton, what is it?" He said, "I got to tell you that when I went out to the different branches and the different departments and looked people in the eye and told them how much I mean to them and they mean to me, he said, I remember seeing looks of terror when I showed up unexpected turn into looks of joy. Nothing has been more rewarding to me in all of my years as a CEO. And now I'm doing that same thing as the head of the United Way of Indiana, where I still look
Mhm.
people in the eye and saying, I saw what you did and I appreciate it." And that
Oh.
ultimately, I had to wait 5 years, but ultimately I heard JWD, job well done, in Bud Melton's words.
Oh, thank you for sharing that because that is, oh, you said something so profound.
Oh,
You had to wait 5 years.
I did.
It was not overnight. And in a
Right.
world where we love instant gratification, that's why Amazon comes in 2 days. And if I can get it same day, you know that I'm getting it that same day because I want that gratification. That delayed gratification is really hard. And so I think that's where folks start to get discouraged. Wouldn't you agree? Because they're not starting to see change, or it's not as quickly, it's a little bit slower. Or people are, their senior leaders are moving on to the next initiative or the next thing, and they never hear that job well done. um, but if they continue to stick there and they know in their gut they're really doing something bigger and better and really impactful for, who it is that they're, their target audience, right? Their colleagues, their peers,
Yeah.
their employees, it'll come, that job well done. It just might not be the next day.
And Vanessa, I know you well enough, all the volunteer work you do with sorority and
Hmm.
with children and all that. I know
Hmm.
there are people that come back to you years after you dealt with them at a meeting or something, right? You know where I'm going with this. And they
Oh
say,
yeah.
"Vanessa, back then when I didn't have the direction, I didn't have the courage, I
Hmm.
didn't have the hope, you loaned me some and I appreciate it. And it has made a difference in my life." So this is not just about corporate and military initiatives. This is about life, where we're trying to make a
Yeah.
difference and move out of our job descriptions into something that is truly going to leave people better, offer them some courage and hope. And if we ever get it back, that's great. Sometimes we don't, but it's really nice when we do.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, sometimes you get discouraged because you don't hear it right away. And then you get that little glimpse and you're like, you know what? It was all worth it once you get that little thanks. So we talked about these three responses. What are some tools or strategies that can help you cultivate these responses?
That's great. Great question. I'm thinking of line managers and supervisors first. No matter what your role is, no matter what your job description is, I encourage you to at least uh, take a little vacation across the bridge from the learning to the performance world. Just kind of go and
Mhm.
hang around there a little bit in whatever way you
Yeah.
can, and look for people over there that might be interested in what you have to offer, and especially seek to understand. Ask them, how are things going? What's going well over here? What kind of challenges do you have? And they'll go, what are you doing here? But that's the first thing, is to respectfully, we don't want to create a big problem for you. Respectfully move apart from your job description if it is truly just learning or talent or training, and say, well, we need to go and find out reality of what's going on over there, and if we can make more of a difference and more of an impact. So I would say really start with that. You might need to ask for permission, but I think that's the best advice. Start there, more meaningful conversations, and then be ready, because some will say, what are you doing here? But others will say, wow, nice to see you. Let's get together again sometime.
Yeah, I love that. I think we can often want to rely on the easy button, survey, AI, whatever the case may be. Whatever tool can make it happen quicker for us. But often what is really necessary is just that little bit of conversation, or that little, just having that one-on-one with someone to hear really more truthfully and really get in depth to the truth of the matter, right? The truth of the of what it is that you're trying to solve. Yeah. I think that when we want to skip having conversations sometimes, because it can be, for many reasons, right? But you're introverted, you feel like you don't have enough time, all of these things. You don't want to bother someone. But often people really like to talk about themselves. And it is actually a lot easier to
Right.
get them to have a conversation with you. So it's, it's not always about I'm going to say this, but we have a Kirkpatrick toolkit, but it's not always a toolkit. It's about having those conversations with them in order to get those responses and to hear more about what they need.
Vanessa, you mentioned AI. I think 5 years ago, people might not have known what that means, but I think we all understand artificial intelligence. But you know what? I call them avatars. I don't know what else to call. I just call them avatars. I know when I'm talking, they say my name is Jamie or Charlie. I know that's not really Jamie or Charlie, and they can carry on a conversation. And that is threatening in a sense to our industry, because it can replace training. It can replace, a lot of the instructional design. There's a lot of intelligence that can put those things together. But AI is different from, what am I going to call it? I'll call it artificial humanity. There is no such thing as that. And I hope it's a long time before that ever comes. The personal touch, the human to human interaction, that in general is our future, that we do those things as much as we can, that AI, which is very useful and very helpful, cannot at this time and hopefully ever replicate.
Oh, this sounds like you're getting us you're bringing us back to our conversations about the future of learning and kind of where we see 2024. So if you haven't checked that episode out, make sure that you do. Before we go, we talked a lot today about level 3 and how these responses really kind of are the core of level 3. But how does that impact the results, or why the business exists, or why the organization exists? How can these responses influence that?
Well, I'm thinking of the work that I'm doing at the gym, me and some of my buddies at the fitness center. And I don't so much focus on the results anymore. I focus on the level 3. And my friends get so sick of me. They say something, I say, oh, that's level 3. They said, oh, shut up. Don't be talking about levels. You're not at work anymore. I say, oh, okay. But if you focus on the performance and what you need to do, and the nutrition and the activities and the relationships that you build, the joy will come out of that. And my son and I and my wife and his girlfriend just spent a weekend in Savannah, and I haven't seen him for a while, but we just went through, a wonderful time there. And in the end, it was obvious that the result was we are much more close. We experienced some things that we say will be some of the memories that live on. And we didn't focus on what those memories were. We focused on being with each other. and doing
Mhm.
things with each other. And that then in the end, when we just looked at each other and hugged each other, he said, Dad, that was terrific. I really, really so much appreciate what we have. That's what it comes down to for me.
Awesome. Well, Jim, thank you so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate this conversation, and I cannot wait to continue this conversation. I think we're going to be coming back a lot to, senior management, senior leaders, and getting them to buy in the Kirkpatrick buy-in way. And if friends, if you have any questions or any follow-up questions to the podcast, please reach out and let us know. We would love to continue this conversation utilizing some of your questions, and anything that y'all need to know about when it comes to the Kirkpatrick model. We are here. Thank you so much for listening today, and we will see you all very soon.